There is a car on sale in China called the Seagull. It is a small 5-door hatchback, roughly the length of a Mini. On the 23rd of May, 2025, its price was cut to 55,800 yuan. That is about $7,800 US. Brand new, off the lot, with a warranty. On the same morning, 21 other models were cut alongside it. The deepest cut was 34% on a plug-in hybrid saloon. Now hold 4 numbers next to each other. Full year profit down 19%, a quarter down 33%, then a quarter down 55%, the steepest fall in 6 years, and roughly 100,000 people gone from the payroll in 12 months, a workforce that shrank from about 970,000 to 870,000. All 4 belong to the same company, and that company is the one that won. BYD did not lose China's electric car war. It won it decisively, and winning is what broke it. So how does the largest maker of electric vehicles on Earth sell 4.5 million cars in a year and end up in trouble? What was actually paying for those price cuts? And why did the thing that made BYD unbeatable stop working almost overnight? By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what BYD's cost advantage was built on, and you'll see why a regulation that took effect on the 1st of June, 2025, did more damage to that advantage than any rival ever managed. None of what follows is hidden. It is in BYD's own annual report, published in March 2026. It is in a state council regulation on payments to small and medium-sized enterprises. It is in a Reuters investigation into a payment platform, BYD, launched in 2018. It is in a Hong Kong research firm's note that Bloomberg wrote up in January 2025. It has simply never been put in the same place. The obvious explanation is the tax break. For years, buying a new energy vehicle in China meant paying no purchase tax at all. On the 1st of January 2026, that ended. The Ministry of Finance replaced full exemption with a 5% rate, capped at 15,000 yuan of relief per car. Chinese buyers pulled purchases forward into late 2025, then stopped. BYD's January and February 2026 domestic sales fell 36% against the year before. February alone was down 41%. That is real. It is also not the story, because the damage started well before the tax changed. BYD's gross margin fell from 19.44% to 17.74% across 2025. Third quarter revenue in 2025 was already shrinking. And no tax rule explains why one company's supply chain became the subject of a government regulation. The tax cliff is what everyone saw. It is not what did the breaking. Start with what BYD actually is, because carmaker undersells it badly. BYD does not buy its batteries, it makes them. It does not buy its power semiconductors, it makes those too. It makes its own motors, its own control software, and until recently it employed close to 1 million people across battery plants, electronics factories, and vehicle lines. Pick up almost any modern phone and there is a decent chance a BYD subsidiary touched a component inside it. The handset parts division alone turned over 155 billion yuan in 2025. That vertical stack is the first mechanism. 3 of them built the empire, and the third is the one that closed the trap. The first was scale. In 2025, BYD sold 4,602,436 new energy vehicles, up nearly 8%. Revenue reached 804 billion yuan, around $110 billion. Research and development spending hit 63.4 billion yuan, up 17% in a single year. When you spread that kind of engineering across 4.5 million units, the per-car cost of a new platform becomes a rounding error. The second was integration. Every component made in-house is a supplier margin you don't pay. This is why BYD could sell a Seagull at 55,800 yuan and still book a profit while a foreign rival looked at the same price and saw a loss. The third was time, and this is the one almost nobody talks about. BYD, like most Chinese carmakers, did not pay its suppliers quickly. According to Reuters, BYD averaged around 127 days to settle with suppliers, against a Chinese industry average of about 108. In 1918, it launched an in-house electronic platform called Dillion, which issued digital promissory notes to suppliers in place of cash. A supplier holding one could wait to be paid, or cash it early at a discount, and Reuters reported that discount running at roughly 6% against under 2% for ordinary bank paper. Some Dalian notes carried payment terms as long as a year. Remember that number, 127 days. The entire story turns on it. Think about what 4 months of deferred payment does to a balance sheet. Every car BYD sold generated cash at delivery, while the bill for the parts inside it came due a third of a year later. At 4.5 million cars, that gap is not a detail. It is a permanent, interest-free loan from the supply chain, and it grows every time you sell more cars. That is the machine. And for a decade it worked so well that the rest of the industry could not touch it. BYD passed Tesla on global electric vehicle volume. It exported 1.05 million cars in 2025, up 140% in 1 year. Its chairman, Wang Chuanfu, told shareholders in June 2026 that he expects BYD to be the largest carmaker in the world by 2030. Every one of those price cuts in May 2025 was affordable because of the machine, which raises the question of what happens when the machine stops. That machine is why BYD could cut 22 prices in a single morning, and that machine is the reason it can never do it again. On the 24th of May 2025, one day after the price cuts, Wei Jianjun, chairman of the rival carmaker Great Wall Motor, sat down with Sina Finance and said this: "The Evergrande of the automotive industry already exists, it just hasn't erupted yet." He named no company, he did not have to. Evergrande was the Chinese property developer that grew by taking money from buyers and contractors before it had built anything, and collapsed under liabilities that its own balance sheet had never properly shown. 6 days later, BYD's public relations chief Li Yunfei posted a point-by-point rebuttal on Weibo, running through debt ratios, total liabilities, and supplier payment cycles, and concluding there is no Evergrande of the automotive industry among China's mainstream carmakers. Here is the problem. In January 2025, Bloomberg reported that the Hong Kong forensic research firm GMT Research had run the same numbers and reached a different answer. BYD's reported net debt as of the middle of 2024 was 27.7 billion yuan. GMT's estimate of the real figure, once supply chain financing was counted as what it functionally is, was 323 billion yuan. Not 30% higher, roughly 12 times higher. Listen to that sentence again. 27.7 billion, or 323 billion, depending entirely on whether you treat a deferred payment to a supplier as trade credit or as debt. Then Beijing answered the question. On June 1st, 2025, a revised State Council regulation on ensuring payments to small and medium-sized enterprises came into force. It requires large firms to pay smaller ones within 30 days of delivery, 60 at the outside if contractually agreed. It also explicitly bars forcing suppliers to accept deferred payment through commercial paper or other non-cash instruments. 9 days later, on June 10th and 11th, 17 major Chinese carmakers, BYD, Geely, Changan, Dongfeng, Great Wall, XPeng, Xiaomi, and others, publicly pledged to pay within 60 days. In November 2025, Reuters reported BYD had begun moving away from Dalian notes entirely, toward bank paper and standard commercial paper. Go from 127 days to 60. On a company buying components for 4.5 million cars a year, that is roughly 2 months of working capital that has to be found from somewhere else, permanently. Now watch what the financial statements do. In the first quarter of 2026, BYD's revenue fell 11.82% to 150.23 billion yuan. Net profit fell 55.38% to 4.09 billion yuan. And one line moved differently from all the others. Financial expenses rose 210% to 2.1 billion yuan. The free loan from the supply chain became a loan from banks at bank prices. This is what in trouble actually means. Not that BYD is running out of customers, that the cheapest capital in its business was regulatory, and the regulator took it back. The suppliers were not the only ones absorbing it. In Shandong province, a dealer group called Qiancheng Holdings, an operation with around 3 billion yuan in annual turnover, published a letter in April 2025 admitting financial difficulty. Reuters found at least 20 of its BYD showrooms across 4 cities, including Jinan and Weifang, deserted or shut. More than 1,000 customers were left chasing warranty coverage and after-sales service that nobody was now providing. And the pressure is not confined to one company. China's auto industry took in 11.18 trillion yuan of revenue in 2025 and made 461 billion yuan of profit, a margin of 4.1%, a record low. In December 2025 alone, the monthly margin fell to 1.8%, with industry profit down 57.4% year-on-year. An entire national industry, in its best year for volume, running on less than 2 cents of profit per yuan of sales. Be careful here, because the case can be overstated. BYD is not collapsing. It made 32.62 billion yuan of net profit in 2025, around $4.7 billion. Its July 2026 sales rose nearly 22% year-on-year, its best month of 2026. Wang Chuanfu called the first quarter the company's darkest moment and asked shareholders for patience after the Hong Kong shares fell from 132 Hong Kong dollars and 20 cents to 88 Hong Kong dollars and 40 cents in a year, a drop of about a third. But the direction is not ambiguous. Year to date through July, BYD sold 2,227,722 vehicles, down 10.5%. It has lost the top spot in China's electric vehicle market to Geely, which outsold it domestically by around 76,000 units in the first 2 months of 2026. And the 2026 target of 5 to 5.5 million now requires roughly 530,000 sales a month for the rest of the year. It has never done that. So if the domestic engine is throttled, where does the volume go? Here is the answer to the question this video opened with. BYD is in deep trouble because its price war was never funded by manufacturing genius alone. It was funded by float, by paying its suppliers 4 months late, in its own private currency, and treating the gap as trade credit rather than debt. In June 2025, the Chinese government made that illegal. The discounts that killed the competition now have to come out of actual margin, and the numbers show exactly what that costs. Profit down 55%, borrowing costs up 210% in a single quarter. And here is the fact held back until now. In the first half of 2026, BYD registered 174,144 vehicles in Europe. Tesla registered 170,351. For the first time, BYD outsold Tesla on Tesla's most important export market. In July, BYD's overseas sales rose 124% year-on-year and reached 43% of everything it sold. Its factory in Seagull, Hungary, inside the European Union's tariff wall, moved from trial production in February 2026 toward mass production later this year. That is not a recovery story, that is a relocation. The price war did not end when it stopped being profitable at home, it was put on a ship. Which means BYD was never the real subject. The real subject is a domestic market with 129 electric vehicle brands in it, of which the consultancy Alex Partners estimated in July 2025 that around 15 will still be financially viable by 2030. That is not a forecast of BYD's failure. It is a forecast of 114 failures, and BYD is the strongest company in that room, which tells you what the rest of the room looks like. The same pattern is already visible in Chinese solar, in steel, in batteries. Build enormous capacity, compete until margin reaches zero, then export the surplus and let someone else's industry absorb the shock. You do not have to guess where it lands next. It is in the registration statistics, published monthly in every European capital. A price war is only a war while both sides are still in the country. That's what this channel does. Take numbers that are already public and put them next to each other. If that's useful to you, subscribe. And if you've watched a car in your own market get suddenly, inexplicably cheaper, say which one in the comments.